Hello and welcome back to another sketchbook tour. Woo! So we're a bit further on this time. We are getting some more recent stuff. I think a lot of what's in this book is like 2017, little bits of 2018. Already going from one book to the next, we're going to start seeing some major improvements to stuff because I really started like experimenting and trying to like get out of my comfort zone. So without further ado, here we go. So at this point I started getting into a habit of drawing my fursona just plain and simple in the front of the book. So when you open the book, you know it's got something to do with me. I was trying to experiment with hands a bit more in this one. Trying to do like a little hello wavy hand. I think I'd already kind of was starting to develop Flux's style a bit more. Like we saw in the last book where I was trying to play around with like his eyes and stuff. This is where I was starting to sort of stick and I was starting to really sort of find a style for Flux. So we got another guitar pose like we had in the last book, and then I was doing a side profile but from a different reference. I can't remember who the reference is from, but I was just trying to like, again, play around with the style a bit more. And then just Flux looking really cute in some glasses. I think this was based on a picture that was taken of me during an MCM Comic-Con at some point. I was delving into some fan art in this book as well, so this is just Leomon, drawn from a reference. I think I was drawing Flux in a Tom and Jerry style. And then I was also trying to play around with Flux's face at this point. I think I got to a point where I was like, his face is kind of boring because it's just a black blob with a white hair poof. So I was trying to find ways of making his face a bit more interesting. Although I think I ended up deciding it was probably a bit too much for him. I tried to see if I could give him like a tuxedo cat mustache sort of look, and then some more eye practice, and then I think a lot of this was drawn at like fur meets. So I think we just got like a simple cat drawing. I don't think that's going to be Flux. I think it might be someone else. I think it might be Wibble. And then I think this was me drawing Flux as a dog for like an April Fool's thing. I think I drew it and then took a photo of like, oh, I'm a dog now. That's now my persona forever. And then it was like, ah. And then just another simple drawing of Flux. As I said in the previous video, my go-to warm-up is usually to just draw Flux plain and simple as like a way of just kind of shaking out the cobwebs and just getting something down onto paper. Nowadays I have a slightly different approach. I tend to just do like gesture drawings from like quick like 5 to 10 minute poses. I find that helps just kind of loosen me up for whatever drawing I do, and just trying to draw more thumbnails of stuff before I actually finish a final sketch or a final piece. And then this is just me in like a more kind of like manga style-ish, sort of, not really. The spiky hair is probably the only trait in the eyes. I think this sketch was drawn from someone's fursuit. I think it was just a picture that was posted on Twitter. I actually don't remember whose fursuit it is. If you recognise this, give us a shout. I'm trying to practice dog muzzles a bit more because, as you notice in like some of the other stuff, I kind of struggle to draw anything other than cats. So I was trying to sort of break out of that a little bit by studying like a more canine character. And then I think this is a drawing of Flux based on the fursuit instead. So the proportions and the style's a little bit different. And then I was trying to play around with hair on this one. I think I was just trying to go for like a neatly trimmed fringe with like long flowing hair. And then I think I was drawing Flux with like a bit of a beardy thing, which is interesting because eventually I did settle on a beard, as you'll see further down the line. And this is a sketch of Rusty that was drawn from a reference that was on there for Affinity, I think. I think it's drawn by someone else. And I think this is just a draft concept idea for a comedy sketch that I was going to film because I was doing a lot of like YouTube stuff at this point. I kind of wanted to parody what it was like to work in a UK office, especially based around the public sector. It really wasn't that interesting in the end, and I just did not follow it through. And then we got a wasted blank page for some reason, and then just a side profile of Flux, and then Flux holding his Les Paul again, my Les Paul, because I was obsessed with that guitar. And then we got some more side profile practices. Again, I was trying a slightly different style for Flux, and then I drew Wibble as well. And then I think this was another redesign for Flux. I never settled on that in the end, but hey, you learn by doing. I think this was just some cool rock chick that I was trying to design. Again, because I was kind of obsessed with the Les Paul and I was going through like a bit of a heavy rock and metal thing. I tend to go through periods of that. I was designing some cool rock chick. I never really finished this design, which is a shame. And I made her like a canine character instead of a cat. And then we got some more reference pieces. It's just a cat, just a torso piece of Flux, I think, and then a full body piece. Again, I was still going for a redesign, so I think I was trying to figure out his torso and not just his face. These were some more face designs. Eventually I did settle on this kind of design. You know, Flux now has the beard, and that became canon. And then this is just a drawing of an actual cat. I think it might be Freya, which is my friend Alex and Tim's cat. And then it's just a quick little sketch of Sakamoto, I think his name is, from Nichijou. I think at this point I was on holiday, so I was drawing like a shirtless Flux looking all cool and ready for his holiday. And then I was drawing that dragon character again from the other book. The proportions are a bit off. This was like, I think a year later. I think we're definitely getting to like 2017 at this point, and it's been a while since I've drawn this character, so I'd kind of forgotten how he looked. And I was still struggling with drawing a character in like a small space. And then I think it was just some more pose practices. I think I just searched on Google like action poses and then drew these, and then just a cute picture of Wibble as well. And then I was just drawing some more stuff from references. So we got this cute lion character. Again, I'll try and find where that was referenced from. And there's a picture of myself and Wibble or Rusty. I think this was taken when we were out hiking somewhere. This was a photo, so I just redrew it with our personas. And just some random dragon character. I don't think this is referenced from anything. I think this was just kind of off the cuff, out of my head. I think this was drawn from a reference. I think I found this on Tumblr. And then I drew Tim in a very similar style based on a photo I took of him, I think, during a fair meet. And then Flux in a slightly different style. I don't recognise that. And I didn't draw him with a beard in this one, so clearly at this point the beard was not set in stone. Even on this one, he hasn't got the beard yet. And then this was drawn from a reference, again just trying to learn from like different styles and again practicing scaly characters. And then I drew more of the dragon character, this time with his watering can and his bucket with his gardening tools ready to tend to his garden once again. I think at this point I was doing some more practices with lions. I think I was going through a period where I just really wanted to try and like master how to draw lions. Fun fact, before I settled on Flux and before I'd even really sort of got fully involved with the fandom, but I was still kind of discovering it. This is going back to like 2007, 2006 maybe. I considered making my character a lion. However, I wanted to give more love to domestic cats in the end, so that's why we now have Flux. And I did like a weird, exaggerated expression. I was trying to practice like exaggerated facial expressions, so here we have a drawing of Flux looking a bit more dramatic and a bit more villainous. A little break from the lions. Just some full body drawing of Flux. I think I was trying to like practice slightly more digigrade looking legs. And they're still dummy thick at this point, although I still think those look pretty decent considering. Yeah, practicing more on his face, and the beard's starting to come in a bit more. And then some paws, gotta love paws. I'm sure everyone watching this right now is gawking over these paws. It's just some wolf dog character. Again, I don't think this was drawn from a reference. I think this was just kind of out of my own mind. This was drawn from a reference, I think. Again, just practicing the more kind of bulky, muscly body types. And then this is the paw page, I like to call it, where I think having drawn that paw, I wanted to try and draw a bit more and try and refine how I draw paw pads and peats. Needless to say, this exercise helped because some of what I've drawn here is actually how I now draw peats anyway. And then I think I was doing like a badge design, a little blep. Full body drawing. I think I was trying to figure out how clothes would work on Flux if he had digigrade legs like here. So I gave him like really baggy pants by the looks of it, and still gave him like trainers, which didn't really work, but hey, that's the point of sketching. I was trying to figure these things out. Some toony eyes, some more paws, and then another action pose. This one I still really like. I've never been able to recreate this style, but I think I was kind of moving away from this style a little bit. So I did like a more kind of manga sort of pose with the character. Although I do think his head's a bit big. I did have a habit at this point of drawing heads a lot bigger than the rest of the body. I think this is also coming up to the time when I was sick. I'd had surgery at this point, and I was off work for like 6 weeks, something like that, and I was pretty bedbound. So to keep myself busy, I just had my sketchbook nearby and I just draw stuff and try and work on my art to try and develop it while I couldn't really do much else. And so I was trying to work with more full body poses, and I was starting to break away from trying to fit everything onto one page, and you know, where you sort of have issues where you run out of space, like on this one. So I was trying to break away from that, and obviously it worked, because already like, things are starting to fit into the pages a bit better. And then yeah, drawing a Wibble as well. And then I think I was trying to practice hair again, just nice flowing hair. I think this was drawn from a photo I saw on Twitter, and I really liked the hair on the person, on the model. So I think this is meant to be Rusty with that same like flowing hair. And also Breath of the Wild. I think I started playing Breath of the Wild at this point. I think I'd only just bought a Switch. Again, kind of like a aftermath of having that surgery. I decided to treat myself to a Nintendo Switch, and one of the first games I got on it was Breath of the Wild, and so I was on a bit of a craze with that. I was absolutely obsessed with it, so I was drawing like Flux being Link essentially. And I think on this page I was trying to practice bears for whatever reason. I was just like, I want to draw some bears, so I just found some references on Google, on E621 for Affinity, Twitter, etc., and then just drew some of these here. And I drew Flux in the style of the Wonder Boy remake, because I also got that game around the same time that I got Breath of the Wild on Switch. I really like the art style that they did in the remake of that game, so I tried to replicate it. And then I was trying to get back to drawing humans, so you know, I hadn't drawn a human since like the early parts of the book here, and then even before that it was more just humans. Weren't really drawn very often since like 2014, 2015. So I ended up drawing, I think this is Moana, but I didn't like how this came out, and I think I wrote poop in the end just because I wasn't happy with it. And then an isometric side profile-ish shot of me, real life version of me again with the kind of anime spiky hair, and then just a pose of Flux being all loungy and chill and slightly nudie, but no anatomy because I was still really innocent at this point. And then I tried to do a full body picture of Flux similar to this one. However, his head is massive. Like I complained about drawing big heads before. This just takes the piss. This one, I'm like, my god, that is ridiculous. And then this is the early sketches of my ref sheet, which is the ref sheet that I still actually use to this day, which probably needs updating at some point, but hey, this was the final sort of redesign of Flux, and I was pretty happy with how it came out. Look at that crotch fluff, and the big boot. And then we have some more paws, and I was drawing more digigrade legs. I was really trying to practice digigrade legs. I think I was still ill at this point, and I was just so bored. I was just trying to practice everything that I was not happy with my art. And then I was also trying to practice hands at the same time, and give a bit of love to hand paw pads as well. So I just did a lot of hand gestures with furry additions to them. And then I was also craving sushi. I was in bed feeling sorry for myself, so I drew some Sushi Morgana from Persona 5, just like reaching out to the sushi, just like gimme, gimme, gimme. I also drew Flux as Joker from Persona 5. I think I've been watching a Let's Play of Persona 5 at this point, so that was another thing I was doing to keep myself busy while I was still ill from my surgery. And then, because I was on a Persona Super Megami Tensei kick, I drew my friend Tim as one of the Persona's demons, Osi, who looks pretty much exactly like this. He's like a kind of cheetah character or a leopard with this like weird crotch piece on him and not much else. And then some more digigrade leg practices, just really trying to like really scrunched up digigrade legs. I still wasn't happy with how it was coming out with like this full body drawing, so I was going back to basics and just trying to break it down a bit more. And then yeah, trying to draw like side profiles of the legs. I think this was a reference from a photo of Tim, so this guy here, I think it was a photo of his fursuit, and so I was trying to reference the leg and just trying to observe how it flows. And then I drew Flux with that leg style, although this did not come out very well because I was using a different pencil to what I normally use. I was using like these cheap mechanical pencils initially, and then on this one I was using a more traditional HB pencil, but it just did not come out very well. And then with this one I was trying to draw that same leg pose again, but I wasn't particularly happy with it, so I never actually finished this one. The drawing of Flux with that same pencil, just trying to work on those legs a bit more. Still wasn't really happy with it in the end. There's some fan art of Sonic, which I think is pretty cool. And I always liked the rubber band peel out effect that they had in Sonic CD and the Sonic OVA, so whenever I draw like classic Sonic, like retro style Sonic, I tend to do the rubber band effect. And then some more design concepts of Flux. I think I was trying to like stylize his beard a bit more and work out how it actually like flows out from the chin. And then some more fan art. I was drawing Sonic and Tails, and I tried to do a Knuckles but didn't like it, and then like a little mini Sonic in like a run cycle. Just another full body drawing of Flux, and then Flux just idling, lying on his front. I will say though, I could never lie like that for very long. I do not like lying on my front. I just find it so uncomfortable after a long period of time. And then I was drawing that dragon character again, just to keep myself practicing with that style. And this was a drawing that Rusty did of me. I think I was having a bad spout of the hiccups, and when I have the hiccups I tend to hiccup quite aggressively, quite loudly. And I think Rusty was getting a bit fed up of it, so she took my book and drew me just having like a hiccup spasm. And I think I was just trying to draw a human version of Rusty. And then some drawings of Wibble. And then this is just another full body drawing of Flux. I think this was from a reference that I found online. I really liked the concept and the pose, and I found it quite sexy, so I was drawing Flux in that same pose. And on this page I drew, I think this is Sona's Link's character, Renee Bounce Cat. I really like her art style and that character, so I wanted to try and reference it. And then I was trying to work on like a back shot of Flux as well, because I don't draw characters from behind very often, so this was me trying to practice that. Flux and Wibble / Rusty kissing. So again, that's not something I practice very often, so I was trying to return to that. We've got just another side profile practice. I tried to draw the dragon again, although it looks a bit smaller than normal. Just a casual drawing of Flux as a warlock. I think this is just some back character. I think this might have been me sketching ideas for a commission, because I think someone commissioned me to design the back character. So we're getting into Furcation 2017 at this point. I think this was drawn during like an art panel, and we had like a fursuiter there as like a model, and so I was drawing stuff with them as like a reference. And I was just drawing Flux as a warm-up. Again, we're getting into that eye style. I think at this point I was pretty sold on that style for the eyes. And I drew Starfire going just fuck off basically, after a conversation we had in one of our caravans, and he came out with that, and I just thought it was the funniest thing ever. So I had to draw Starfire saying that in a derpy expression. And then just some more drawings of Flux, and we won't draw any attention to that. Don't do drugs, kids. And then on the subject of don't do drugs, I think I drew this while I was intoxicated, shall we say. But this actually became the door art that I used for Confuzzle 2018, I think it was. I think that's just a rough sketch of Rusty, and then a full body of Rusty. And then for this, I think I was working on Flux's age, again, just aging him up, aging him down. I never liked how he looked as a kid. He looks fucking creepy. In fact, I think I commented on that there by just saying creepy child. And then this was just some fan art for someone at Fermi, I think. And then drawing Sonic, and then I think Gretsuko was becoming popular at this point, so I did a Haida, which I actually quite like that design. I think that looks really cool. I drew Fizzy J. I think this was around the time where I first met Fizzy J, and so I did some fan art for him, and we were becoming really good buds. Love you, Jay. I was trying to play around with like the age of Flux, so it was like a young adult. I think that one's going to be him as like an older adult. I think he's going to have like sideburns there and a longer beard. I don't particularly like that as him being an adult. It's kind of like in one of the previous books where I tried to do that. He still looks like he's in his 20s essentially. And like a scruffy teenage Flux, which I do quite like because it's not far from how I actually looked as a teenager. And I think this was just some storyboarding stuff for Furcation when I was filming with them. And some more storyboard stuff. I never actually filmed any of this in the end because I ended up just the thing I made. I ended up just using like old footage and editing it in a way that worked with the theme that year, which was like a cops and robbers theme. I'm surprised I actually managed to fit him into the page without looking too awkward. He does look a little bit awkward though, but not as bad as like some of the older drawings in some of the other books. And I think this is a kobold, and yeah, I did run out of space in this one, so the proportions look a bit weird. And I think this is a layout of the house that we rented a couple of years ago. I think I was trying to plan like furniture and stuff, and trying to plan out the size of stuff and make sure everything would fit before we move stuff in. It's always important to plan stuff when you're having a move. So yeah, I actually drew the furniture that I wanted to move in, and made a note of the sizes and dimensions and stuff. It was just an excuse for me to draw, really. And then same again, just more furniture drawings. This is stuff I actually learned when I did design technology for my A-level. I did like product design, and one of the things we learned was how to like sketch out the designs that you wanted to make and make a note of like the dimensions and stuff. And then Google SketchUp was a brand new thing at that point, so we then remake all this stuff in Google SketchUp. This was just Flux jumping for joy. I think this was when we were getting into Confuzzle 2018, and I was just happy to be there, so I just drew that. I think we were sat in the bar at that point. I think this was drawn during Rock Band at Confuzzle that year. There was a really cute Growlithe Arcanine fursuiter playing one of the guitars on Rock Band, and I thought it was adorable, so I had to draw them. And then just a more, because why not? I think this was drawn during like an art panel or something. I think it was just, while I was listening to them talk about their art and stuff, I was inspired, and I just was drawing stuff off the cuff. And then we're getting into some slightly not safe for work stuff here. Nothing too lewd. I think I did draw like very sort of muted anatomy, but this was drawn during a life drawing panel at Confuzzle 2018. Got all these different poses. Again, all these different drawing exercises. So this is like since 2015 where I did that last life drawing panel. This is all the same exercises, but I'm slightly better at drawing a human figure. I think this is again drawing without taking my pen off the paper, drawing the left hand, and just drawing all these different poses under like different amounts of time. I think it was like drawn in like 2 minutes, 3 minutes, etc. And then yeah, just some more basic poses, basic shapes. It was like really scribbly at this point. I think I was drawing these in like 1 minute, 30 seconds, something like that. And then I think this was drawing, focusing on like the negative space around a character. So instead of looking directly at them, you're looking at all the shapes that their body makes around the outside, and like all the background details, and like getting an idea for like the scale and stuff. After all that, we had a 10-minute drawing with the model, and this was what I ended up creating. Never drew anything on the back page though, which is a bit disappointing. I'm actually quite embarrassed about that. Like, I tend to nowadays have a habit of finishing off a book by just saying like the end, or just drawing like something a bit more challenging after everything that I've gone through in this book. That's all. Thank you so much for watching, and stay tuned for the next one, and we'll see more improvements further down the line. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.